We all have a story to tell. Let's tell yours. Welcome to the Intellectual People Podcast with your host, Jason. Come together and listen to journey stories and more from interesting people. Welcome your host, Jason.
I often post on various audio forums, and I want to take this time to just thank them. In no particular order, they are audiosciencereview.com, audioroundtable.com, audiocircle.com, audiofilestyle.com, avnirvana.com, diyaudio.com, gearspace.com, and the Parts Express forum. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate your viewership, and enjoy. Today on the Intellectual People Podcast, I have Sheri and Geno from Geshelli Labs. How are you doing today?
Hi, we're well. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having us.
What is Geshelli Labs?
Well, we are primarily a hi-fi audio company manufacturer. We design all our products in-house. That's our primary focus, but we also have different divisions. We have a whole laser cutting side, a powder coating side. Geno does engineering for a variety of companies locally, circuit board design. We also have our own pick and place machines, so we'll run circuit boards in-house for other companies or for our own products.
Wow.
We do a lot.
Wow. Okay. This is going to be a great subject then. How did Geshelli get started?
That's a good story. So I've always been into audio. I think that's the first kind of thing. Always just into, everything audio, buying speakers, so we had our normal lives, our normal jobs, doing our normal commercial thing. So I decided one day I wanted to create a DAC, so I just wanted to go I wanted just a particular design DAC the way I want to do it. So I was just going to do it, just like a one-off thing for myself, kind of like a DIY project, just do it, get it done. Yeah, for fun, get it done, and then move on with my life. So, so I kind of designed this DAC, just did it after work, just hobby stuff, and created one. And then I said, hey, Sheri, you got to come listen to this. And then
it was really good. And, he's always tinkering. That's what he does. When he's idle, he's not happy. So I don't pay attention to a lot of the things he does. And this was really good. And I was like, wow, I think you have something with this. So we started to go down the path. And at the time, there was not really a lot of affordable hi-fi available, easily available, I should say. And in our opinion, what affordable would be. So we kind of went down a couple of avenues, looked at things, made sure, what do we need to do? How does it get certified? This and that. And we kind of went through the steps just as a learning.
Yeah.
Just, hey, let's do this. Let's see what happens.
Sure.
And we started selling them on eBay local. And our area, we're very close to Patrick Air Force Base. And a lot of the airmen that were there, they don't have a lot of money.
Sure.
So we sold one, and we actually delivered it in person, and he loved it.
Yeah.
And he told his friends. And then his friends and that's how it started really rolling.
Yeah, I mean, we were just making these things just getting a couple boards from a board house. It was very, you're just kind of doing it at home and
low key.
Very low key. We didn't have intentions. It was just let's just do this eBay local, let's just do this, sell it, and just have fun with it. I remember telling my buddy, we were just talking about it. He's like, oh yeah, man, you could put it up on this local thing or put it up on Craigslist, whatever. And it was just random people, and the next thing you know, we're starting to go to audio shows and stuff. Things are,
Before that, there's a whole part where once you wanted a laser cutter, so
Yeah.
our rules, everything that we own in-house, all our machinery, everything, we pay for ourselves. We do not finance. But the rule is, if you want it, you have to be able to pay for it.
Right.
So he wanted a laser cutter and he wanted this, so we had to sell enough, and that's still how we roll with everything, is we sell enough to buy the next piece of equipment. So we started going to the little home, like people have audio clubs, and we started going
Yeah.
there, and we're talking to them about our products, and it was much more difficult than I thought to expand outside of, we're in Brevard, outside of that area. People didn't give us the time of day. I mean, we called a ton of different, audio shops here in Florida, hi-fi shops. They weren't interested at all. So it was a lot of tenacity.
Yeah, a lot of drive. That's how, it kind of just like organically evolved.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things like where we take today and we look back to then, and it's just like, wow, it's like night and day difference of everything. It's just, but it's like one of those things like it kind of evolved naturally to where you just don't realize how much everything's changed and how much everything did evolve.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like you look back, it's just like completely different.
But then on the other side, we started laser cutting to pay for the laser cutter.
Oh yeah.
So we started advertising that, and it got too big for us. We started getting these accounts, and then bigger. We were doing like fishing lures and restaurant name tags. And at the same time, audio was starting to take off, and we're like, okay, something's got to give here, because we were getting too popular in one way, but we wanted to focus on the other.
Yes, but in understanding, like, laser cutting wasn't supposed to be the goal. It was just a thing of like, hey, we're gonna pay for stuff. It's gonna kind of fund, and we're just gonna do this and use the machines while we're using them for our stuff. We're gonna kind of fund the situation.
Sure.
Yeah, it was starting to like get out of control, and we're like, okay, like I remember us sitting down and say, okay, look, we're not a laser cutting company. Like we have to kind of start splitting some of this off and kind of moving some of these accounts to something else.
We kept we still have the larger commercial accounts. We have some restaurants that are in Florida, and we do their table signs. And so we did keep some, but just the pick up the phone, hey, can you cut this for my
college project?
Right.
We had to.
I'd like to take a step back. So, Geno, you are engineer by trade?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Electrical engineer?
No, actually, I started off as an embedded. So back then, computer engineering, I guess is what they called it. I mean, I don't know. I started in 99, 2000 range, somewhere around there. So then it was just an embedded engineering, so computer science was the kind of the way you went. So no, I did not start in electrical engineering, but when I got my first job, it wasn't really my first job, it was like my second job, but I worked in the hardware department with all the electrical engineers. So I was always, since I was a kid, was always, tinkering. I was that kid, just like you always hear that, broke the TV or the stereo because, they had to take it apart.
Yep.
Not knowing what you're doing, you're just like poking things.
Okay, so you went to work for that job and you stayed in computers for how long?
So for my first job, you're asking like
Well, your second job, right? You said your second job, you were kind of in the computer.
So I'll say it like this. My very first job was doing all like Visual Basic databases and C programming, all high level. And then once I kind of got out of there, when I got into my second job is where I started as writing drivers, firmware, embedded stuff. So I always kind of did that stuff in the background for fun. You make a little project with an LED or something, a little goofy project. So I kind of wanted to go that path. But it's not like that. It's funny because embedded engineering is like not necessarily a very, it's not an easy career path that's not available. I should say it like that. There's like one embedded engineer for every 10, high level guys who do databases and stuff. So I I got very lucky. I kind of got into that route. And then I worked for the hardware department, and then all my friends were double E's.
Okay.
So that's how it kind of all, you know.
Were you involved in computer programming when you guys first built the prototype that you listened to, Sherri?
Oh, me? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You were.
Oh,
Okay.
100%. Yeah.
You left that corporate role, if you will, and then put all of your focus into audio, correct?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
I mean, we still do.
You can probably describe it.
Yeah, like I said, we still do design. He still designs circuit boards for companies. I mean, we're still tapped into that market side.
Right.
He does a lot of consultant work.
Right.
He's very good at designing, and he can design quickly, and his designs are good. So we still have that facet.
Right.
That works.
Yeah, so we kind of like still double dip in a way. Like, you know, we still have I still kind of do all the audio stuff, but then we also have, you know, like a lot of like other projects we'll have to work on that still may be programming gigs, you know, just things like that.
Okay. Let's get deeper into Geshelli Labs as a whole, if you will. And what did you do after you started selling some? Like, it really, you started, right? It's eye-opening and it's exciting, but at the same time, it's probably a little nerve-wracking. So what were your next steps?
Okay, so it's like 90% nerve-wracking and 10% like fun. Maybe even 5% 95.
So we were having fun with it. It was, you know, oh, look at this, and we're going to make these little cool cases. This is while we still had full plexi. We hadn't moved into the metal cases yet.
Right.
And we weren't taking ourselves seriously. I think that's a fair thing to say. You know, we were just doing something cool on the side. And as we started to grow, it was a lot of fun. And then people really heard about us, and he designed something called the Archel 2. And it was measured on a site, and it beat everybody else by, what, almost 2 dB?
Like a decibel. At the time, yeah.
It was kind of groundbreaking, and we weren't ready for that. We weren't prepared at all. It was the two of us, and, you know, we got a decent amount of orders to keep us busy. That hit, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, we were pacing around our neighborhood trying to figure out what we were going to do, because before I could shut off the orders, there was like 100. And you have to understand, this is two people that maybe did 5 a week.
Yeah, at this point, the good thing was at this point we had finally moved into a proper shop. Like, so beforehand, when we had released what was the ENOG 2, that was before that, we were getting orders, but they were manageable. So, you know, we were doing everything out of our house and garage. Like, I always tell people, I had a pick and place machine, like, basically in our living room. You know, it was there's like boxes of parts. I mean, it was crazy.
We have one of those kitchen counters that's like an L shape, and it was boxes.
Yeah,
and it was fun. It was cool. We could do it on the weekends. You know, we had a YouTuber, and we kind
of had I'd say a little bit of foresight. Like, so yeah, at that point we were kind of getting, like, not busy, but we were starting
consistent.
to, it was getting consistent. So yeah, then
getting our name out there.
We kind of had the foresight to like get a shop. We were like, everybody kept telling us, like, you got to get a shop. She said all the time, she's like, we got to have this, you know.
I had started powder coating at that point in my own garage.
Yeah.
And
everything was covered in purple.
Yeah.
My lawnmower is still covered in purple. You see this?
It was, and our first shop had no AC.
Yeah,
it was. We've paid our dues, man. Let me tell you.
Florida heat. You get that summer Florida heat in a like a garage shop type thing. You know.
I get it. I live it too.
Yes, sir.
So you predominantly make desktop amplifiers and D to A converters, right? Known as digital to analog converters, correct?
That's correct.
What separates your equipment from other makers of those exact items?
Well, for starters, we make everything in-house. I think we are one of the few, I'm not going to say the only one, but one of the few that does that. And we do, I mean, soup to nuts, with the exception of the bare circuit boards, which we get out in Colorado. Everything else, from the pick and place, the case cutting, we even have our own clicker press for foam inside our product boxes. We do it here.
Okay. Now, all of the design, Geno, is done in-house as well?
That's correct. Yeah, everything. Other than we purchase our Amanero modules from Amanero, super cool guy. Yeah, everything designed in-house and, tested, prototyped, everything here.
In terms of job, not titles, but duties, obviously Geno is the designer. Sheri, are you more like operations manager?
The queen.
When I'm not covered in powder coat, I do all the cases, sandblast, coat them. I'm getting into hydro dipping now. I solder the boards, have a large input on the appearance, i.e. the colors, purples, pinks, blues. And then on the other side, I'm the one answering all the emails. I do the shipping, finance, day-to-day operations. Yeah, I know, really.
Yeah.
And I think that's worth mentioning, actually. So people can pick out the color of the casework, right?
Yes. I mean, I have done everything from a guy sent me his 69 Camaro, and it was in a gold or
yellowish gold,
hugger or orange, and I've matched Squidward from SpongeBob,
Neon Genesis.
We get
a lot of that.
So basically, if somebody sends me a picture and says, "Can you do this?" We had a skateboarder out in California. I matched his deck, so we can do a lot.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
Let's get into the technical side of the DACs. You have two DACs, right? Which is, and I hope I'll pronounce it correctly, which is JNOG.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. JNOG and J2. What are the differences between those two DACs specifically?
So the JNOG was the previous DAC. It's still up on the site, but we actually don't sell it anymore. We just have it up there for reference. So that one used the AK chipset, the AK4493. So since the AK factory burned down and we can't get the chips anymore, we had to quickly pivot. This is early this year, so say January-ish, February-ish, that we kind of had our design in the works, and then we had to go over to ESS. So yeah, the original DAC was it was an AK4493 based, same op amp, same sort of output stage. Trying to think off the top of my head if there's anything else. Then we kept the look of it the same. So we kind of just wanted to change the guts. But, for the people that couldn't get the JNOG, they can go to the J2, but it wouldn't be radically different looking. But we ended up going to an ESS 9026, which was actually a very nice tame chip. It's a good chip, a little bit older chip than the 9038, but very good chip. It was very solid heat wise. Those ESS chips love to put out heat. So we ended up going over to that, which ended up, we had to obviously create a new board and everything because there are some differences there, but we kept the output stages almost the same, pretty much the same. And like you said, you'll see the case and everything was the same Amanero module, the same position, everything. So.
And this goes back to why you said about making in-house was important, because within 3 months of the fire, we were able to pivot, design, certify, manufacturer, and get out the door a replacement.
That's great. And in terms of the objective measurements from the J2 back to the JNOG, much difference?
Not really. You can see on the site, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, it was like THD was around 240, somewhere around there. SNR. So the newer, the ESS model, the J2, is a little bit better. But I mean, we're so far down in the in the numbers that you know what I mean. It's like you're splitting hair, and then splitting that hair. You know what I mean? So
Understood.
It's like that. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's just going to be the biggest differences and the biggest things even are just really going to come down to the sound signature of each one. One's going to be that AK kind of sound, the other one's going to be ESS.
Do you find yourself going back to AK if and when those chips are available again?
Absolutely. Love AK. Great company. Can't wait for them to come back. Where every single day I'm like checking if they're back,
But for the people who like the ESS.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of people that like that sound too. So
yeah, I definitely think we were like deep down it was like, we got to redesign. But honestly, we wanted to do an ESS chip for a long time. And this was like, that forced invention, so it was like, if we're going to keep eating, we got to make an ESS. And it was actually a fun experience to be able to, figure it out, kind of get it going. It was a whole new world because we've been doing AK forever.
Not have the home.
Yes.
The ESS home.
But it'll be nice. I would foresee in the future we'd probably have an ESS version and an AK version.
That's how I see it too, because we have a lot of fans.
Yeah, I don't want to abandon. I never want to abandon ESS. Not at this point. I mean, they sound awesome.
That's great.
And we have, again, just like everything else, there's a 50-50 factions of people who love the ESS. They're so happy we went to ESS, and the other people, the AKs, are like, when are you going to go? When's AK coming back?
And we have some people, actually a good number of our customers have both. They have the JNOG, and then they purchased the J2, and we'll hear back, I like this one's cooler, this one's warmer, this one, you know. So
I listened to heavy metal on this one, but I listened to jazz on this one, always.
That's funny. And in the amplifiers, is it the same type of thing? You have multiple lines with the Arish, I believe it's pronounced, right? So what are the differences between those amplifiers, if you don't mind discussing that?
So right now, I think we're selling the A25, the Gamer, and the Air. Well, we have the E2 coming very shortly.
Yeah, actually probably next week or the week after that. So the Arish, we had trouble getting parts.
Yeah.
So Geno had to redesign it.
We were kind of pushing in that direction.
That one started.
We were the Arish, or the original Arish was kind of just getting old. So we wanted to. We were already kind of getting ready to design, but the part shortage really kind of pushed it. It's always something that's going to like kick you in the butt and make you work harder. But so
so start with the Arish that's coming out. One of the claims to fame is it is a truly
fully balanced
amplifier, and explain what that means, because I don't think a lot of people understand.
So just the fully balanced, I mean, there's multiple definitions of this, but I'm just going to say the Geshelli definition. Again, everybody argues about everything. The Geshelli definition, essentially, we wanted to keep the plus and minus or the hot and cold legs of the XLR completely isolated. So we ran it completely through the amp that way. We didn't sum the signal. We didn't do or differentiate the two signals. We didn't do anything to bring it back down into an unbalanced state and back out to a balanced state. So we just kept it completely in a balanced state. And that's kind of, that's just, we did it through and through. So that's why there's no unbalanced pieces or inputs or outputs on there, because that was how it was designed. So that's why you end up with that 4-pin XLR in the front, and that's all it's, good for if you're going to do balanced work. And the numbers on there, like whenever we found that we ran like that are just, I mean, they're below the measurement ability of the APx555 right now.
Wow.
So once something comes out new to test it, that's going to be absurdly expensive, blah, blah, we'll be able to see. But, we are really in a territory that's, we're like in this noise territory with that amp that's just like unreal. It's just, we're way over, way down there.
Before you go on, one of the things that really we found interesting with the Arish, we designed it to be a limited, small run, not a lot of people. I think we made 50 to start with. But I mean, that's what we had. It was supposed to be just a very small, and we were kind of made fun of, the audio world's like, who would buy this? It's just, this is dumb. Well, we're what? Almost 2 years, I think, or
a year and a half or something. Sold a gazillion.
We
pushing through them.
They sell. Gosh, do they sell? And people love them. So it's funny that you make something that everybody kind of poo-poos and says that's stupid, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, what is that product? That's kind of the fun thing that we found is we're not afraid to just put something out there that people might think is strange or weird or unnecessary. you know, that's not going to be a seller. Well, you know, we like it.
So the A2, or excuse me, the A25. So we had a product called the Archel 2. That you can still see tons of stuff on the internet, just people talking about that. That was our one of our first kind of really popular small amps.
Right.
And
that one's on ASR.
Yeah, that one had like kind of record numbers at the time. So that one we evolved into the GMR. So we have this Archel GMR, and all we did was just made the GMR. It had a different LED setup and more power. So we kind of modified that board to the GMR series, which we call a gamer. I mean, it just GMR worked. And that's kind of when we retired the A2, and the 2.5 is effectively a balanced in but unbalanced out only amp. Oh. So it has balanced and unbalanced inputs, balanced output. So that was kind of like a bridge between the Airish and the Gamer. And it's very similar to the Gamer, where it has, you know, the same amount of power and you know, all the goodies. Yeah, so that's kind of like what, you know, the difference in the amps. But the E2 is going to be the one that's coming out shortly, and that's going to replace the Airish. So we, instead of calling it the Airish, it's the Airish 2, but we call it the E2 for short.
Understood.
So basically to stack with the J2, because we're trying to come
it's going to be the longer, the bigger form factor.
Super original names like E2 and J2.
So an E2 and a J2, correct me if I'm wrong, the topology is balanced from input to output.
Correct. So the J2 has both balanced and unbalanced, but if you stack the E2 and the J2 together, you can just run it'll be balanced fully all the way to your ear.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that would be the ultimate stack right there.
Correct.
And running imbalanced, right? To take advantage. People really don't understand sometimes that a balanced cable, an XLR, a 3-pin XLR, can also be run unbalanced. So it's really important to understand that the topology inside the piece of equipment is truly fully balanced topology, and not just using an XLR 3-pin cable.
Correct. That's correct. Yeah, a lot of things you'll see, or a lot of people talk about that. Yeah, they'll take that balanced signal, create an unbalanced signal, and then sometimes they'll just reproduce an unbalanced signal from the, you know, or reproduce balance from unbalanced. It's too many. But yeah, this is just, truly balanced all the way from DAC output to your ears.
Excellent. Does Geshelli Labs have anything coming down the pike other than what we just discussed that your viewers should know about?
Sure. So I don't know. She's going to be kicking my foot underneath the table, but no, the one what we're kind of publicly talking about right now and testing are our E2. That one we already have a sort of a hinter on our website. We'll be getting more information out there, but that one's in production right now. And Archel 3 coming down the pipe, and then we have another kind of special DAC that we're talking about doing. That one's kind of in a little bit in the future. That one we really won't talk about yet because we don't really have it flushed out yet.
Understood.
I mean, we have a whole laundry list of products that we want to do.
Generally we're just so what we're doing right now, our thing is just revamping the headphone amps and getting those more power. We're getting them, just more up to date. It's so funny. It's like, in a year or 2 years is like ancient now, with parts and everything. So we're kind of getting all those revamped and getting that all ready. It just, the DAC this year ate up a lot of our time. So getting the J2, we, obviously again with the AK Fire, we didn't want to have to spend a good amount of this year working on a new DAC.
Yeah, we had just released, what was it, Black Friday?
Yeah, we released the J2 on Black Friday and had to stop selling it by January. We ran out of parts.
Yeah, that was a very short, limited, unintentional limited run.
Right. So So yeah, we're kind of revamping our amp, and like I said, there's kind of a DAC on the table, but we're just not ready. Like we're like, even internally, we're really not talking about it right now. Like we're just trying to get the amp released, and our current focus is just E2 production.
Understood. How many employees make up Geshelli?
We have 6 now.
Well, so we have us,
right?
Dad,
Yep.
And then our kids.
Yeah.
They're both in college, but they both work here too.
Yeah, so, big family operation.
Yeah. His dad joined us about a month ago.
Yeah.
We finally got him to retire.
He's been awesome.
He's a beast. I was so excited because he can help me on the case side because I'm overwhelmed over there as well as doing a lot of the other. He's a master carpenter. He's a woodworker. He enjoys getting his hands dirty, doing everything.
Yeah.
Real great guy. So it's an exciting
great
time.
Yeah.
Is there any reason that a 2-channel audio person could not use a J2 as their DAC?
A 2-channel audio person could not use it? I'm sorry, yeah, you rephrase it.
Yeah, is there any reason why an audiophile couldn't use your J2 as their DAC for their home audio system?
Yeah. People do all the time. I mean, so we sell them to people's home audio systems all the time. I'd say like probably at least 30 or 40%, I'd say, of our sales are going to people who just have like stereo setups, Oh yeah, we sell to a lot of people. I mean, it's like a big amount of people. A lot of people, what they do is they'll run, since the J2, the outputs run simultaneously. They'll branch off the RCAs and put into like a little headphone setup and run the XLRs into like maybe, a couple monoblock amps or something, do some kind of magic there. But, so that way they can kind of bounce around and do things. But, we have a lot of people, who.
So what my point is, Geshelli Labs is not only Head-Fi people.
Oh no, just on our amp side right now. Our amp side is just headphones. And that's just mainly because of me always being into headphones. But I have a couple of decent speaker setups. I always call them big boy amps. So we always say that here. We're like, oh, he's got a big boy amp. I have a couple of those setups at home. For movies and stuff like that. We just keep it all 2-channel. I like the big 8-speaker or whatever it is. I don't know what surround setups are now, but we can't put speakers all around our living rooms. But yeah, it just kind of came from me being an engineer sitting in an office, always using headphones.
Right.
So it naturally progressed in there. But a lot of people ask us to work on bigger amps, higher wattage amps, and we talk about it. It's just another thing that's on the table that we've talked about and we'd love to do. Just got to get the time and the,
I think the 2 most requested things is speaker amp and a tube amp.
Yeah, we get tube amps all the time. People ask us all the time for tube amps too. So,
would you want to develop or design a tube amp? Is that something you'd want to do?
It's so much fun. Like tube amps are so much fun. So they're like, as an engineer, they're like totally, it's like the Legos of, of audio or electronics is to play with tubes. Realistically, it's a decent challenge to get it right. So I have a buddy of mine that I kind of work with on the side. He's an analog genius. His name is Mike Z. And he's worked on a couple of tube designs that we've looked at. I think the biggest thing to go the tube amp route, even the tube amp headphone route, either way, because you use smaller 12AX tubes, is the biggest issue is just getting the tubes and the manufacturing. I mean, you're talking like high voltage stuff, not in all cases, but it's a different world of manufacturing when you're doing tubes. It's expensive, like
the certifications are different.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking like different safety issues that you might run into with certs, like if you're going to go that route. So I would love to. I love playing with them. I don't know if realistically, like we have other projects that are probably higher priority than something like that right now.
And as far as your J2 with ESS chips, you have plenty of chips?
Yeah. Those are, you can just order them.
Problem? Okay.
No issues there.
Plenty of product available for sale.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
plenty of product available.
Oh yes, yes. I'm sorry. He cut off when he said it. He cut off here. He said it. She read your lips, I guess.
All right. Is there anything that I haven't asked that I should have? That you
There's
would like
something I should have. There's actually an interesting story, and I forgot a very important person when I said about the employees. We have somebody named Mike Z.
Oh yeah, I can't forget about Mike Z.
I can't forget about Mike Z. And the backstory behind this is kind of cool. Geno talked earlier to you about his second job, and how he kind of got in. What he didn't mention was that's when he was one of the pioneers of USB design. He worked at a company called Dynavox, which gives people with ALS a voice. It's just a box. And his mentor was a gentleman named Mike Z. And way back then, we're talking what, 20 years ago at this point?
Goodness.
They talked about making a tube amp or some kind of amp. They were both into audio. They lost touch. Fast forward to about January of this year, and you found him.
Yeah.
And they hadn't talked in like 10 years, and like 5-hour phone conversation. Because Geno throughout time has talked how much he missed the guy, how important he was to him. And he came on board in February,
somewhere
I think, as he's a
a
consultant. He works, I mean, he's not an employee, but he consults with Geno. They work side by side, and he was part of the ESS design, helping you with the back.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
it was funny. It was like, I called him. I said, Mike, I'm like, we have an audio company. I'm like, Mike, we got it up and running, because me and him used to talk about this all the time. This is way back in the Burr Brown day. Like everything was Burr Brown. But yeah, it was just funny, and he's a super help. And he, like I say, he's an analog genius. So if I run into these really weird analog problems, which is like all the time, you get in a weird power supply, like, okay, we're looking at this weird transistor setup. We need this guy's like, just do this, do this, and this. He's like one of those guys, a super smart, eccentric, like awesome dude. So yeah, we definitely got to give him his shout out.
And it brought Geno full circle back to when he was like 21, 22, trying to make it in the field, and he has this guy that's like making sure he learns old school analog and make sure he would learn. There was no low-hanging fruit with this guy. You had to learn it. And then
even in those times, like even during then, like late 90s, early 2000s, like analog electronics was just fading away. Right. Like people just, it was like, even then, everything was just going, how can we make everything digital? Like any and everything digital, no matter what we're doing, simulate everything analog digital, and so he was one of the guys that really got me to the next level of electronics, all day. So I was
double E, right?
Yeah, he's like a master insane double E. That's what I call him. But yeah, he was one of the guys that I worked with hand in hand every day, and really got me into electronics. So we were doing like USB back then, when USB audio was like brand new and was just absolutely terrible.
Geno, you mentioned that you have an APx555, which for the viewers that are watching might not know, that's an Audio Precision X555, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you test every unit that comes off the production line to see if it passes?
Everything. Yeah, we have a whole set of tests that we run every single unit, and sometimes it's a huge headache. But you gotta click in, click out, click in, click out all day.
And then once he's done, he puts it on the shelf. I grab it, and then I run it through the paces. I plug it in, heat it up, make sure all the LEDs are working, test the audio on it. So before it goes in the box, it runs through 3 stages of QC work.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's every unit?
Every single unit. Believe me, every single unit. And when we have like huge order loads, it's like a nightmare, because they're stacked and everybody's just looking, like, okay, are these all going to get tested? I'm like,
yeah, we didn't start taking weekends off until about a month
recently.
Yeah, about a month ago. Because of the pandemic, everybody's home, everybody's buying audio. and we have nowhere to go anyway.
So come live here.
You're just basically living here. So
she won't let me I wanted to like install a bed and a television in here. No, she won't let me. It'd be so much easier.
Good problem to have.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And for everybody watching, please go visit Ja-Shelli Labs at Ja-Shelli Lab or Ja-Shelli.com.
Yes.
Thank you
so much, Geno and Sheri. I do appreciate it.
It's awesome, man. Let's talk again.
We all have a story to tell. Let's tell yours. Welcome to the Intellectual People Podcast with your host, Jason. Come together and listen to journey stories and more from interesting people. Welcome your host, Jason.